Welcome to this November meeting of the Caucus of the Democratic Party of the Common Council. We will get started with our list here. Resolution 158, authorizing a budget transfer in the fire department. The amount of $8,303 for a new ambulance stretcher. All right, who's going to make the joke?
Is it stretched?
And they stretch that further.
Is it that?
Come on,
I'm not
gonna
require stretching. I don't know.
Not
Is
gonna
it
be-
session stretching?
That's what you're getting.
$8,350?
Well, I don't think it's
Oh,
just
no.
a piece of wood.
No.
It folds.
I don't think one that go for the hydraulic pressure. Yeah. Well, it's a transfer of funds, so it's a zero financial impact.
It's actually no financial impact
Right.
because they move money around in their budget.
In their vehicle budget, they have money for it.
So it's more that it has permission to spend money.
Right.
Same with the next one, transfer in the fire department, the amount of $92,650 for new ambulance equipment. This one's also no financial impact.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a reason why the stretcher
Wouldn't be in that.
you're not lumped into that?
Maybe from a different,
I mean, does it-
different trend, but
Oh, yeah, maybe different.
it might be from a different line.
Right.
Vehicle and so minor equipment is the stretcher.
Right, so those are vehicles, right?
Okay. And then 160, authorizing budget transfer in the housing department in the amount of $202,064, supporting re-annihilations.
I know there's a typo there.
Rehabilitation of 3 former city-owned
Yeah,
homes.
Loosely annihilated.
Yeah, previously annihilated. So we want to re-unannihilate them, right? City-owned homes via Rupco's Regan project.
Jen?
Regen.
Gen project. So this is actually a pass-through grant, so it has no financial impact on us.
Correct.
All right, so we okay with that? 161, authorizing budget transfer in the wastewater treatment facility in the amount of $90,453 to balance accounts. Again, this is within their budget, so there's no financial impact. 162, authorizing a budget transfer in the Parks and Recreation Department in the amount of $56,105. I believe this is all.
That's to reconcile the department accounts, and I'm looking here and it says zero financial impact.
Yes, there we go. Zero reconcile accounts. Yep, so we're doing that.
What? All these committee reports are. I just saw that many reports that aren't signed, like, gosh.
All the finance one thing?
Yeah, a lot of them, some.
If it's with the communications, probably won't, it's the whole.
Okay.
So-
So it's the one that was original.
Yeah.
In the.
Okay. Let's see, 163, authorizing budget transfer in the Building and Safety Department, the amount of that is $100,000, right? Not 10,000. Zero.
Another thing. It was $100,000, but it's against study.
Yeah.
You can't do that for $10,000.
So this one, yes, it should be $100,000. And this is coming out of our budget, so this will be a $100,000 financial impact. But it's not a safe building, we have to get it done.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
164, authorizing a budget transfer in the Building and Safety Department, the amount of $4,237.70, cover employee payout and the purchase of New York State codes. This will be taken care of within the building and safety budget, so it's a zero financial impact. Resolution 165, authorizing the mayor to submit an application to the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation for the local government in an amount of up to $50,000 to hire a consultant to establish the city's first historic preservation plan and create historic design guidelines and to execute any and all related documents. This- What?
Is that it?
Hit?
Yes, I'm doing. No.
No, not now, because it's just
Oh,
on.
we should authorize the other.
It's the remaining match is 10,000 in kind donation.
If we get it.
If we get, that's right.
166. Memorializing resolution imposing the harmful impacts of public law number 11921 and recommending actions taken by New York State. We're focused on this one.
Oh, well, very good. I'm good with it. Yeah. There have been a lot of revisions going on.
Mhm.
So I don't know if everybody has seen the final revisions. But
Well, we would have to do
Then
something
we
on the
have
floor.
to-
on the floor, but yes.
So I was planning on making an amendment to introduce language, like put it back on Congress and then, Terrell and Sarah updated the language, so. And that's what that's.
So it's.
The last one I saw was from you.
Yes.
Is that the last?
The last of that line. That's
Okay,
right.
and it was just that one change?
The whole thing's.
There was some tweaking, yeah, there's some tweaking that went on, but the conceptually, it has essentially restored the government sort of request, but kept the state request in there.
Were you on that email, Lisa?
Yes, yeah, I had, I just printed it out, it came today, right, Carl?
Yeah, last night.
Last night, okay. So this is gonna be on the floor.
Yeah, so we'll read the first one and then somebody will motion to
Amended.
amend it. And if it's, I don't read the whole thing, but it just acknowledge, maybe highlight a couple of the substantive
Right,
changes.
okay.
But then, as send it to the clerk
Oh,
and then you can do that.
and I'll second it. Does it need a second?
Yeah, it will need a second
Okay.
to vote and then I'll
Okay.
call for the vote on the whole thing.
Okay.
All right, wait a minute.
So are you saying anything tomorrow? On this?
Well, I'll open it up once I'll want you to make the motion.
Right.
We'll do that and then I'll have Lisa reread title and then anybody can talk on it.
Oh,
if they want.
Okay. Maybe clear on that one then? Right, 167. This is amending the code, chapter 390, vehicle and traffic to add stop intersection on Colfax Place at Wilson Avenue. There was that. 168. Amending the code, chapter 390, vehicle and traffic to add stop intersection on Garrison Street and East Chester Street. Okay with that? All right. 169. Memorializing resolution of the common council of the city of Kingston, New York, opposing crack gas pipeline expansion in New York, including Enbridge's Algonquin pipeline expansion, Project Maple, and newer previously completed pipelines, including the Williams Constitution Pipeline and Northeast Supply Enchantment Project, Enhancement Project, NESE Pipeline in New York. They're trying to enchant us, but I'm not going to. Everybody got a beat on that one?
Yeah, that's on, Food and Water Watch Plan, and also, our CAC made amendments to the original.
170, this is repealing resolution 130 of 2025. That wasn't it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Barbara has a question.
Elisa, do you want to talk about the issues in the duplication with these resolutions?
So, a bond resolution had, been received and the bond company had flipped numbers. and we passed the wrong bond. So we have to, you take this one back and pass the corrected bond. They have reversed to the numbers on what they said.
And what were the two numbers that they?
It was like a 6 and an 8. I don't remember what the original one was. but
Not
it was-
6, 7?
but they-
Oh, good God.
So we did pass the wrong one and we need to get, we need money, so we have to show it.
Sure, so the bond ordinance is back on.
Actually, that is absolutely right, but there's actually another issue. So resolution 170, it talks about repealing resolution 130. That was actually something that you'll see if you go to the next page. Resolution 176 is the repeal, followed by the corrected, the corrected number. So resolution 170 is actually duplicative. And then 171, which is a totally different project, that's not a correction in a bond, that's a superseding bond from the engineering department. And that is covered under resolution 179. So it looks like two different bonds that have to be addressed in some fashion here multiple times.
And it shouldn't be more correct.
Well, there should be multiple bonds, but they shouldn't be appearing multiple times.
So one
Each one should
seventy,
be-
and 171 should be eliminated.
Yeah, because they're identical.
Does that, I know that causes problem when they're local laws. Does that cause a problem if we're getting, so we go from 169 to 172? Does that cause a problem like the laws do that we?
It shouldn't, yeah,
What was that?
What would the problem be?
it's just.
And we don't have consecutive numbers.
I can talk to you about it later.
Okay, in terms of often, there are different views about bond ordinances and problems associated with bond ordinances, just so that it's clear. My preference is to have it all in one resolution. There's no reason why we need to have these separate bond and authorization. I know there are a lot of municipalities that have done that way. And certainly gets the job done, but I actually think it creates a lot more confusion. So I've had a lot of back and forth, controller's office and others about that issue. And I think we should just get in the habit of having a bond that clearly, authorizes the funding and the expenditure. There's no reason why there's no problem in doing that together. And I think it cuts down on some of this confusion.
Yes, so just to be clear, we're removing 170 and 171.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't know if you just want to remove them or you want to renumber everything, but I'm fine with them just being removed.
Okay.
I feel like nobody else cares, right?
No.
169 is 172.
Not too long.
Okay, everybody clear on that? We are deleting 170 and 171. We'll move on to resolution 172, authorizing adopting a bond ordinance for the construction of a new central fire station at 18-30 East O'Reilly Street and authorizing the mayor to execute all necessary documents for the project. And this is
Which number are you up to? I'm sorry.
172.
170.
So this has two resolutions, so we'll still, right, about moving forward after this.
And so this one is for an $8.5 million loan. Has everybody seen the plans for the new fire station and all? It's from the current and central one.
They did a little presentation at the meeting, so if you haven't seen
Okay.
the rendering.
If you want to go to the finance.
Oh, is it on the agenda too?
I don't think,
The presentation wasn't.
No.
no, it wasn't
So there
given
wasn't
in
floor
committee,
plan? There
not
wasn't
in.
floor plan?
It was
On
given
the
in
presentation, they just shared their screen. So you will be able to see
You
it.
can see it on YouTube.
Yeah, so they show the plans, they show the all the work that's going to do to rehabilitate the building that's directly across the street from the current firehouse.
And what are they doing with the present firehouse?
They'll keep the ambulances there.
Yeah.
And some of the admin offices, like Chief Ray will have his office that are.
I mean, the real problem is that building, if you've ever been in it, the floor is really substandard. So,
The weight of.
yeah, so basically it can hold up ambulances, but not the heavy duty fire trucks.
I think that it came out much more inexpensive than having to go build a new building somewhere in another location. Community wanted that central firehouse to stay there. So
They just
I think
think
it
it's
was actually very fortunate to get the building across the street and have that work out like that.
I think so too.
Yeah, so those of you who are newer to the council, we've actually been talking about this for many years now. So we're feeling fortunate that we were able to go this route.
It is, it's definitely a large expense, but it's just something, you know, the fire department protects life and property in the city of Princeton.
So especially
it's
now
nothing
that they have
beyond.
the ambulance board too.
I did a lot of trying to be.
I know all about that project. Yeah, that was
This is
also
a lot
years,
cheaper.
that was also years in the making.
It was a lot cheaper, but it's finding the date.
I know,
Yeah.
Sure.
but
But
unfortunately.
we're
we can't
borrowing,
help
so it's
the
not
time.
like we're spending anything at all.
Is that not having so much fun?
All right, 173 is the bond ordinance for that. 174, recommending approval for the Department of Public Works charges for the 2026 property tax bills. So it's annually done, standard operating procedure. We're okay with that?
Actually, it's actually adding 57,295 to
To
Your fee.
revenue.
our revenue.
And the next one is similar, 175, recommending approval for adding building department safety division charges to the 2026. Okay, we are with that.
Mhm.
Michael? No, never mind. Fine. I'm good at never mind. 176. This is, here we are repealing resolution 130 of 2025. Assuming everyone's okay with that.
Quick question, though. I have a note here that there isn't a committee report explaining why this is kind of bad, or just some note added to the prior committee report, just so that there's a clean record of how this legislation sort of moved. It's not like the committee report is required for you guys to vote, but if there's ever a question about why this ended up with a different number and different amount, it's good to have the kind of clean.
Can I just send that to Lisa and then you can just keep that and then, so the account doesn't have to do anything else. Yep. Just bring us something up because they're still around there. You ready for me?
No, I'm trying to see, are 177 and 179, are these the same?
No,
No, because we talked about bond ordinance, which was a ministerial motion to combine two different prior bond ordinances regarding the Flatbush and Foxhall renovations. So I don't have a record of the first. What is the Green Resilience Award?
but it's not in.
And let no, that was.
So you're asking about 177?
Yes,
177 is the corrected amount from when those numbers were inaccurate last time. Reviewed to correct.
okay, so
So
it should
150.
follow from on 176.
I think what was confusing this year, 170 was combined to 171, but they actually weren't. That's it.
Okay, did these actually go through committee? And if they didn't, do they have
They did.
in finance?
The, yeah,
This last in the October meeting?
it would have been 2-3 meetings ago.
Right, because you guys already voted on and passed the bond with the typographical error from whoever sent it to us. So the repeal, we're repealing 130, that's resolution 176, and then you're adopting the correct amount 177. But they would have been, I think, 2 months back.
Yeah. I think two.
Right, I'm seeing it here. It looks like the 6 and the 8 were transposed.
Right,
Yes.
and there's a publication requirement, so the correct numbers going have to be.
I see.
But it did go to finance, just.
But these specific 176 and 77 don't have to go through committee.
No, with the typo change,
Okay,
as long as our rules straight, as long as I'm okay with it.
okay.
And
And then we have to do a bond ordinance then with the new numbers. With the correct numbers. So that's what 178 is, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, one more point for Andrea, your rules, the one that you just referenced about the
Yeah.
graphical issues. I don't know that version of the rules is posted publicly. So just,
Thank you. I was wondering what the little sign was for.
yeah, but you absolutely passed it and the
Yeah,
resolution's there. It's just
Okay,
not on the
I'll
website.
add that.
It is on the website.
It is
Yeah,
now.
I sent it to Joel and it was correct.
Oh, awesome. I don't have to write that down. Thank you.
all right, so everybody clear on that one then, what we're doing? Okay. Resolution 179, authorizing the adoption of a superseding bond ordinance for the sum of $10,800,000 Flatbush and Vauxhall Sewer Rehabilitation Project, bond ordinance 180.
And that's the duplication of what was on the previous page. No?
Yes, there is.
It's just that one.
That's some bad connections. Okay. Resolution 181, terminating with Rondell Creek Public Kayak Access Project is a type 2 action under seeker. It does not require a preparation of determination of significance. As law the rules, yes.
Julie, a present.
Yes.
Anybody need an explanation or further information on that one?
No.
Pretty good, okay. 182. Affirms and assumes the Common Council affirms and assumes its role to serve as a lead agency for the Kingston Point Wetland Restoration and Public Access Improvement Project. Everybody okay with that? 183. Resolution reappointing Emily Hauser to the Ulster County Environmental Management Council to represent the city of Kingston. Everybody's okay with that? She's done good work by us. Resolution 184, amending Part 2, General Legislation, Chapter 390, Part 2, Traffic Regulations to add Article 14, automated speed zone enforcement program. So that's public safety. Speak on that one.
I can't speak on it, but I do have questions.
Sure.
The data that gets collected, from the license plate readers, does that get shared through the service provider? Third party to other vendors?
Other vendors?
Yeah.
Like what other vendors?
I didn't think so.
Well,
It gets shared with us.
yeah, but does it get shared to other parties beyond? The
So
city?
could they sell it?
Yeah, could they sell the information?
Well, how do we know? Have we seen the contract? I mean, we don't.
I have,
Okay.
What about other federal agencies?
nobody sells to a federal agency.
But they could give that data to the federal.
The data that you're on a public street, that's not a private matter. When you're in public, you have no expectation of privacy. And you're walking down a street with a license plate, well, you wouldn't walk with a license plate. But you're driving down the street with a license plate, you have no expectation of privacy. I have not committed, the agreement to memory, so I can't recite it chapter and verse, but if what you're asking is, does somebody have an expectation of privacy in, their movement on a public street, you just don't.
No, I thought the question had more to do with can they transfer your information, having read your license to another entity?
Yeah, but the idea is because if there's no privacy, then anybody could, like, I could take a picture of somebody driving down and share it to somebody, whoever I want. Because that vehicle was on the street. I mean, that's, kind of oversimplifying it, but that's.
So the concern is because like I've spoken with Chief Tinty about this, about our license plate reader that are mounted around the city. He said that we don't share that information with the federal government.
But that's a different question from what Michael's
What I'm
explaining to
asking
me.
is, does the vendor share the
Yeah, but-
information with
right.
the federal government? I'm not concerned about the city of Kingston. I believe that Chief Tinty is not doing that. I would like it in the contract that the vendor will.
So again, if you want to take a look at the contract, you can. I'm not going to pretend to have memorized. But you're asking if a company that contracts with us to send us information so that we can enforce in the manner that we all agree is happening, if separate and apart from what they're doing for us under our contract, they're going to sell and make money with the federal government by selling information about who's on Kingston Street. Yeah, you can definitely take a look at that. That seems unlikely, radically unlikely. But
Well,
we can take a look for sure.
Let's say a person has a warrant out against them. Could that information be derived from connecting his license plate or their license plate? And therefore being able to sort of track the driving pattern of a person?
I mean, anything, I've seen so much, anything on earth is possible. But what we have is something to see how, whatever the device is, to see how fast a car is going and to communicate that to us to generate a violation. So you're asking if someone else could sort of intercept that communication.
Because it was sold. Because it was sold by, the vendor sold it to some third party
I mean,
in
that's
these
a
times.
mark that I am probably the first person to be sensitive about all the things that could happen in these times. That seems far-fetched.
I just will say that these are civil tickets. They're not like MVA tickets, like points tickets. So it goes to the owner of the car.
Okay.
And not
Oh,
the
I see.
driver.
Okay.
And then when that video footage is collected, our parking enforcement department has to view the footage before sending out the ticket, and all the tickets will be $60.
Was there talk, I think I was. No, I know why I missed the meeting. The night before bar results came out, it was a mess. Did anybody ask, or was we told, I forgot the question. Are we doing warnings? I know Albany did warnings.
I think so. Yeah,
30
30 days.
I think Albany did it.
Bigger cities though.
Anything else on that?
I guess the bottom line would be, are you going to look at that contract? Right, to see if that information.
Do we have access? Can we view contracts?
Are you asking practically or asking, are you like allowed to see it? You're certainly allowed to see it practically. It's not going to happen before you have to vote because I will be away until I will be. So if you want to.
I mean, even if
Be
you
able to
send us
debate,
like
yes.
the schedule, could you send us like the schedule A of the contract?
We can talk maybe at another time about my movement, but I'm not going to be able to do that. I don't want to put that out. Okay.
Did this go through procurement?
I'm sorry.
Did this contract go through procurement? Would they have a copy of it?
So I'm sure it did. I don't know where in the back and forth of whatever finalizing the agreement, where the final one is. Tomorrow is a day when everything is closed. And I will not be available right after that. And then you vote. So
I guess the question is the contract already been signed?
yeah,
Maybe John,
Yeah.
John's not here either.
John's out sick,
Right.
but we have,
But license plates, aren't they, license plate numbers, they're already public information, aren't they? So, I think for my money, the concern here is to protect children going to school. And that outweighs any of these other potential concerns.
Well, I think that we can still protect children and then not agree to something in a contract that if it potentially shared information with.
I'm just
Yeah.
concerned about delaying it.
I wonder if like the other municipalities that are using the same vendor.
they're not going to be using our contract. So I think Michael's question is, if you want to see the contract, you want to see a contract and ask whether or not someone would have some sort of right to take data from us that they are sending exclusively to us and to a driver, and to explore the idea of whether or not they can somehow take that information and do, what they want. Which is extremely unlikely. That would be our contract, not a contract that any other municipality.
Let me frame it differently then. Is anybody considering sending this back to committee because of any issues raised here?
I'm gonna say not. So.
I understand Michael's concern and his concern I have about like our other license plate readers and things,
Sure.
because I've spoken with you something about it. I wasn't as concerned in this situation because it's a state pilot program and the state does not want our information being shared with the federal government. So
Okay.
I don't. Okay.
Good. All right. I suppose too, we can always look at amending it contract later on.
No, you can't. You always can. However, the practical relationship, the practical reality is that if we are in a relationship with this, whatever the tech company is, that's going to be extremely difficult to realize.
All right.
So I'm not trying to push this. I'm just trying to be realistic about
Right.
the timeline that we're facing.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. Thank you. All right, so we're ready to move on?
Mhm.
All right, 185 is amending speed regulations, schedule 15, school speed limits to reflect hours of speed limits. And this was,
Yeah, so
About-
this is
yeah.
about the speed, the hours for the speed limit. All school zones are going to be 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. except the Kingston High School, where the hours will be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So that will be on Broadway between Andrew and O'Reilly, and then on O'Reilly from Broadway to the high school entrance, and then on Andrew from Broadway to the high school entrance.
The main entrance or the bus stop?
Yeah, the bus stop, like those side entrances off Andrew and O'Reilly. So up from Broadway to those points will also be considered the speed zone.
reading it down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. 186, adopting the portion of Fashion Lane from Thomas Street to Cornell Street as a city street.
So this came out of public safety. This needs to go back.
It needs to go back.
There were some procedures.
Okay.
There's absolutely no compliance with the notice and public hearing requirements for change.
Who will make the motion to send it back? Michael makes the motion. Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. Second reading, local law number 7.
Excuse me, I think that this contract is actually in town. Sorry, just going back to the speed zone, it says that records. It's like they're gonna be destroyed. Photographs, micrographs, videotape, or any other recorded image from a photo speed violation monitoring system shall be destroyed by the city upon the final resolution of the notice of liability to which photographs, micrographs, videotape, or other recorded images relate for 1 year following the date of issuance. Okay, so we'll.
That's our.
Yeah, and then we will
Not the
destroy it.
vendor's data.
Gotta go back and see how the data, who holds, I mean, that's not a question that could be answered in the abstract, and to see who has the data, how it's transmitted. And if they do not retain, it's something that it's solely up.
I didn't read the whole thing, but there's a lot here, so.
But it's
Yeah.
our responsibility, which I think is important to
Yeah.
include.
Okay, sorry.
Is there a period?
There's an ellipses.
Okay. All right. During the second reading, local law, authorizing the adoption of the 2026 budget with a tax levy that exceeds the amount allowable under the New York State property tax cap law. This is not a tax increase. This is simply allowing the increase if we decide that that's what we want to do. Pretty clear on this. Last year we didn't pass this and in a timely manner, and we had to scurry to get it done. So this is just simply opening up the door. We don't have to go through it.
This will also be something that will be done every year. Just in case. Elisa, do you happen to know, I sent the mayor an email a few weeks ago, maybe over a month ago, if he scheduled it, he has a public hearing date, he'll be. Because he has to schedule a public hearing anyway. Can you let me know when he does that?
Yeah,
Because I don't want us to, I mean, I'm sure he doesn't want it to, so I just don't want it to slip through the cracks.
yeah, no, Roy will schedule it.
All right, great.
Friday.
Thank you.
And then first reading, local law 8, amending chapter 376, trucks parking of. So we're trying to regularize our description of what trucks are allowed to park on our cities. So remember, as this is the first reading, and the vote, the final vote would be in December. All right, anything else? Andrew?
2 things. One, attorney, I have a question on a voucher that I think needs to be an attorney-client session. It shouldn't, I just saw it, so, I think it should be pretty easy, but I don't want to risk. So we're gonna go into attorney-client session. Okay, one, hopefully quick We are back on, folks.
And you're right, ODC. This was. Then we talks about the.
Separately.
Over to the account and there, but we were going to talk about friends and talk about it now. It comes along with the stuff. Or the very results. Yeah.
All right. I don't know if that's the one people like.
I would rather. Yes. Beginning, right now. Before we go. That's
Okay. They would want to do that. That's the meeting, vote. I mean,
You'll talk about the view right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So as you all know, because I sent you an email sometime last week, the mayor vetoed local law number 6, and I sent you all the information. And I called a special meeting for as soon as we're done here, but since we don't talk in the same way during council meeting, if there's anybody who wants to discuss anything before we adjourn, this would be to go into the special council meeting and vote, this would be the time to do so. So if anybody has any concerns, or if you're just ready to vote on whether you want to override it, which the override needs 6 members, 6 of you.
Speak about it now.
If you would like to have a discussion and debate, for lack of a better word, coming to my head, yes.
Like to say something.
Yeah, Gene.
I think, we're coming before the budget. Talked to a few of the people here, we're coming with the budget, you know, we're gonna have to cut off some fat off of our budget. Concerned with losing our laborers or someone that works for the city to fulfill this obligation of money. And I thought, and I might be mistaken, that we were gonna try to get the money put into place first before we went full force into the revision. And I'm really concerned about that, the money part of it, because I'd like to see the budget a little cut here and there from the budget so we can have the money. I'm concerned about the money. I'm concerned about our workers more than I'm concerned about that at this moment. Sure, we're going in.
You can keep going. I just-
Honestly, we're entering in some tough days. And I think the city employees from all departments are gonna, pay some kind of price. And I think that, we turned down a raise last time because we all felt that we would, we want to give back to our constituents. And it's not like we all don't put in a lot of work into what we do. But I think if we start it and start maybe putting a group together and we start doing this, and then after the budget, then maybe try to write some grants or do something to bring in the money. It's desperately needed, but I think the city at this one moment has to concentrate on where we're going financially. And this was back on the burner, even though I'm definitely for it. I think we need to look at it with the realistic eye that we might be laying people off. We don't know. Until we get through this budget season, I'm more concerned about our people.
Andrea.
Well, I would
Just the
love,
way I feel.
yeah, I would love, I have 2 things, but one of them is I would love Sarah to explain this, if you don't mind. Because I think you have it off the top of your head, the reason why the timeline is a little crunched. And ideally, it would be nice to go until after the budget, but we're already like pushing, but can I say one other thing?
Of course.
Personnel, I just, again, forgot. So go ahead and it will.
We'll come back.
Right, I think the timeline, Rennie, we talked about what the timeline is, if there were going to be a charter amendment that would have to be voted on by a referendum, we would need to have that done by August 2027. Now, we don't know, there are a lot of things that could come out of this charter review process. It could include both a charter amendment, some things may just need to be tweaked, it could be a charter review. There are some things that we could actually enact as a council, other things need to go to, a referendum so the voters can act on it. But I think the main thing is really, I'd like to see us get started because there's a lot of research that has to go into it. The budget, we don't really even know what the budget will be because it depends upon, you put out a request for proposals, people send back, their information. I sent around a sort of potential draft RFP and I also spoke to the National Civic League and they had listed how much the costs would be ranging from 10,000 to 90,000 if they run the whole thing, 10,000 if they're consulting. So there's the range, varies. But I think to wait, I think we could get started, and I still think there would be an opportunity to do it in phases where we could get started, set up the commission, begin to do the research, because the first part of the charter review process is researching what's going on in other cities, trying to find comparables, seeing what people like, what they don't like, interviewing staff here to see, how's this form of government working. So there's a lot of research that goes on that doesn't necessarily cost money. It's the time of the people who are on this review commission.
Can I?
No,
I
You can
thought
respond
it
to
and then wrote down this time. I definitely hear your concern, but I guess I'm kind of speaking for others, which I probably shouldn't, but I feel very confident that we're not going to, I understand we have to go through the budget process and things might happen, but I highly doubt it's going to be the laborers, the workers of the city. Just knowing everybody on the council and how much we support them, and I cannot imagine that. So I understand that is a concern, except I just don't think it's realistic knowing how kind-hearted this council is and how supportive of our workers this council is. But I do agree that, we're going to have to look at everything and figure out where we're going to have to trim it. But I can't imagine it's going to.
So, two things. I share your concern about our workers. I am not going to do anything that would cut a job from the current personnel for the city. As a matter of fact, we're looking at adding one job in building safety, which I'm fully in favor of. So I think that your concern is a deep one that we all share because of some of the uncertainties in terms of the economy. But then there are other places we can look for some savings. I was wanting to do that in general, but also to make some money available for this process. The second thing is we are looking for the possibility of other funding. But we can't wait because the limit that Sarah mentioned is prescribed by state law. So we can't start it if we don't actually have, everything in place. So there's a time crunch that we just can't.
And I also feel like on the other hand of this, like I said, I'm for it, and everything like that. But on the other hand, like we're telling Bartek to put his board first, bring us the board, show us that we're saying one thing to one person, but then here we are. We don't have a commission, we don't have this yet, we don't have that. I just don't want to be hypocritical on this because what is needed is very important. This is just my point of view of looking at what's going on.
It's just a different process because there's a specific statutory process that we have to follow. So we have to pass this law to even establish a committee. So we can't pick the committee. So that's why, but yes, it is different, but it's because the law says it has to be different. Or the law says this has to go this way, I should say. That makes sense.
Yeah, what would be the cost? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, sorry.
What would be the cost associated with convening this committee? So we would have to do some sort of a mailer, would there have to be some website development? Seems like the lowest.
It's sort of it's variable. It depends on how much you want to put in. In terms
We put out
of
the
cost.
RFP and then we see what possibilities are. And
I mean, the challenge with putting out an RFP is that it takes about 6 weeks.
Right, I understand.
And when I spoke to John Toohey about it, there's a template for all the RFPs that the city sends out. And they also publish the RFP. There are a number of different sites where they publish all of the city's RFPs. So it would be posted there.
Well, maybe I misunderstand. I just wanna.
Okay.
You're talking about the actual commission members.
The actual commission members.
Just to assemble that.
Well, the idea was to have the consultants come in and help with the, this.
Okay, but and
Help with
at
that.
least
And-
those consultants that would be coming in would be on your lowest, at your lowest tier, $10,000.
Yeah, that's when they're doing consulting. They're not running the process, but they're getting it started.
Right, so there's the
So-
$10,000 plus there's the development costs around
I'm just
finding, well, first of all, doing a search for residents that would want to sit on this committee. You
Right.
have to advertise it, you'd have to, do mailers, you would have to, this cost of time.
Well, yeah, the question is how robust of an outreach you want to do. We would want to do a lot. So we want to at least print it in the paper, the mayor's newsletter. All of us could reach out into our various communities to see if there are people who would be interested. So yeah, there's time that goes into that, absolutely.
But all of that is a plot, which the
Yes.
three examples that you just gave.
Yeah,
Those are huge.
And website
But that's part of the
That's over the
$10,000. Right.
$10,000 right
And
there.
then somebody that would actually pull through the people that apply. I mean, this is,
Well,
There's a sortition.
there's a sortition process that would happen, people would apply, would set the criteria. I mean, all of this takes time. Some of it would not have the cost. If there's a little committee that's setting it up and doing it, like what are the criteria? How many people from, what do we want this commission to look like? Because in this law, we had said that we wanted to have 18 of which 3 would be appointed by the mayor, 3 by the council, and the rest through the sortition process. So we could set the criteria. That's the first thing you do. You want to get the broadest possible representation from your community. So you set what that criteria is. Then when people submit applications, they answer questions. that talk
No, I
about-
understand.
Yeah, you understand all that. Yeah.
I'm just saying, what is the cost? What would be like the
Yeah, I don't-
bottom line cost of getting committee instituted?
Can I tackle the
No,
question?
yes, I have
I
a
mean, could
question.
it be where we establish this committee that, is that all, that's all in the local law though, right? I think I just answered that.
Yeah.
It's in the local law.
I was gonna say, could we change the process, but not in the law? Never mind. Answer my own question.
We
by talking
can't,
about
the
that.
problem is we can't give a specific number in terms
don't
of
have a
cost
number.
right now.
Well,
There's,
we know the floor.
we know the
floor is
full, but,
10,000.
the other thing is, if, suppose we're able to get, $70,000 from a foundation to do this, right, then there's no city money involved, right? And we've got what we want. So we're looking at other possibilities there. Right?
Could we
So-
also, go ahead, Michelle.
So- Good.
So I just wanted to say, like, this is a 2-year process. We don't necessarily have to fund the 2 years right now, right? Like,
Right, that's,
that's one aspect. I think that we are, while we don't know all of the costs yet, we are in a time that where we can find money. The way the charter, I believe, is set up, we don't have money. So we are now in a budget process where we can allocate money, like as going through the budget process and find money.
Right, but that goes to Jeannie's.
Yeah, no, right, but I don't say, when I say find money, I don't mean find money by taking it from an employee, absolutely not, so, yeah.
Or their insurance policies or anything.
No,
like that.
that we can't, that's governed
We
by a
can't. That's-
union, so.
Yeah.
So, and I also feel that no matter what, the city is going to be, as any municipality for a very long time, potentially in a financial, crunch.
Yeah.
And this sort of process and the costs associated will only get more expensive in the future. So in a way, doing it now can save the money, the city money. So.
and I think if you don't.
I present value everything.
Yeah, I didn't,
And
yeah.
use that as, excuse to move now.
I didn't finish, so
Okay,
let's finish, yeah, so I fully support moving forward. And like I said, we're looking, I think we can adapt if we need to send the postcards out ourselves and not have a consultant, like That's the question. I mean, it doesn't say a consultant has to.
No,
do
no,
those
there
steps
is
in the
no, yeah.
law.
But you're right, there are mailing costs and other things, but we could look into that, but I'll, because I know Michael wants to say
Michael,
something.
then,
So we have been going through this process, Sarah and Michelle and Rennie largely leading this charge for almost the entire year. In public, the mayor has known about it. He could have put money in the budget. He chose not to. He vetoed it on a Friday afternoon on purpose. All of this was done intentionally to try and stop this process, which just only further highlights the reason that we need to move forward with it. And I think that a charter revision commission has the likelihood of saying that the council should have more financial power in the city of Kingston. So I think ultimately it will be a cost saving to do this tonight. I'm fully in favor of overriding,
Yeah, just a few kind of random thoughts of what I've heard. I mean, first of all, with what Michelle said, and you said, yeah, we could always say that, but finance meetings, we get warnings from John every meeting for months about how this is, we're going to have to deal with financial concerns for a while now. So we know that from our comptroller. So I don't think it's just speculation. I think we have more concrete, even though not numbers. So, I've been pushing for charter review since like day one. So I just would this is now the time, and we're like it's slipping away. And then the other thing is that we could reject this. We could get the RFP or the consultants back, and we could look at the prices, and then we could say it's not time to do it. But we can't do that. We're gonna, again, this is going to slip away. We're already pushing it so tight to get this done. And this is just, it's been over 25 years. And there's just so many things that the council, not us specifically, councils in general, from Kingston, and I'm sure other municipalities too, that just kick things down, like the bike plan, that, our sewers that we're now tackling, and this is just something that really, really needs to happen, in my humble opinion, and I just don't want this chance to slip away, and I feel like if we don't override it, that opportunity will be lost.
Steve,
Thank you. Over the years, we sat here at this table, not just us, going back a ways, and we have faced this quandary, either financial or enforcement issues. And we've been asked to consider legislation which may not be enforceable by the KPD, something we don't have the money for right now, but I've never seen the council back off on something that we believe in because there may not be money available or may not be able to enforce it. I don't think that should not come into play. We should decide on whether we want this and have to move forward. As Andrea says, when we get to that point, if we can't find the money, well, then, we pull up stakes and move on to something else. But, it seems like we've always voted with our hearts rather than in terms of enforcement down the road or maybe we can't afford it. We voted for the issue at hand, regardless of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of this because I think, we will see, we have to pass this now because otherwise we can't move forward with issuing an RFP. We can't move forward with any of the process. And if it turns out, just as Andrea said, that we're going through our budget process and we realize if there just isn't the money, we don't have to move forward. But the law that's the law now that gives us the opportunity to see if there is enough money to see what comes back to us. And then we can make a decision as to whether or not we want to go forward. But without the law, we can't even move forward.
So you had mentioned that there may be funding from, I guess, private sources or foundation sources. How would that work? I thought that there was a definite sort of wall between, private foundations funding a political, a political act or a political action.
Novo funds two of our departments.
They fund what?
Two of our departments. They fund the health department and
Yes.
what Emily does, and they fund our arts
Right,
department.
because that has a wellness portion too. So
Right, they
that's.
fund the arts department also.
Right, yeah. Arts, wellness.
We get grants for all kinds of things. There's no.
The rewriting of the city charter would be something that would align with their purposes. Yeah.
If they're willing to support the revision, if they're willing to, it's not the revision, if they're willing to support the establishment of the commission, there's no qualm there.
But I don't think you had said originally Novo, so it could be another source too, right?
Right, yeah. There's several organizations that do this kind of work, that support this kind of work.
Okay.
So like, we're
Is this
talking
something
about Bard.
like would support?
No, not.
No.
They would
I'm
not fund, not fund, yeah.
Thank you.
So I mean, the people at the event center, for example,
People in the.
at the event center at Bard, through them, there may be organizations that would be willing.
Well, that's it.
Right, exactly, that's,
We won't be able to see
unless we pass this, right, this stuff.
So some of you guys have been doing this like,
a long time.
Long.
What do you say, Sonny?
why, yeah, so why is it that right now it's like, we have to pass this now? We're going into like this real tumultuous time in our, in our state, in our country, where passing this right now, and you're pushing it, is, I'm thinking of the conversations that I'm having with constituents, and this is not the priority. I'm thinking of priority. Getting people, I'm thinking of housing, thinking of people eating, thinking of infrastructure, I'm thinking of people losing homes. I'm thinking of, I feel, the bigger picture. I know this is very important. I agree that this has to happen. Doesn't have to happen like right now. Let me just finish my.
No, I just wanted to get.
So when it comes to raising money, it's always, I don't know if we have enough money for that, but now for some reason, off the bat, we can navigate, we can do a thing to find money. But this particular thing, there's a lot, there's so many things out there now that takes precedent over this right now. From my point of view, subjectively, this is not my priority. It isn't. I mean, maybe down the line, but I think the next 3 years, we're gonna be dealing with something. And I want us to be prepared for it. And financially ready, we're gonna have to have the coffers to, to hold on to. And that's my thought. That's how I feel about what's happening here. And this could have been done years ago. Why is it that today?
I can answer that in my experience, because I have been here for 8 years now, and I have very actively pushed for a charter revision or charter review. And every time I brought it forward, or Rennie brought it forward, because now's not the right time. Everybody agrees that this should happen, but there was something else. In terms of constituents and not hearing from them, I've been hearing from constituents for 8 years that this is something that they feel very passionate about. But they also feel very passionate about the things that you mentioned too. And I just don't think that I think you could prioritize a bunch of things, but I think this council is good at prioritizing a few things. Just because we're looking at charter review doesn't mean that we're not concerned about making sure that people get food that they need, or making sure that we're passing housing legislation, like we could do all of these things at once. But the reason why I'm pushing this so hard is because every time I bring this forward, it's now is not the right time because X, Y, Z. And it's been over 25 years and I think everybody agrees that it should be at least reviewed. Maybe revised, maybe not, but this is our constitution. And our whole city runs on it, and we could still do this while prioritizing the needs of the infrastructure and if things aren't going to get better in the next 3 years.
Right.
And it's gonna be a different council too. It's gonna be a different council too. And the reason why tonight that we're pushing so hard is just so that we could get this done within the statutory time limits. Because next month, it won't, like, we might as well wait a year. So just kicking it down, so that's why there's a little bit more franticness, but in terms of like, why hasn't other councils done it? It's because somebody's always said, and you know, sometimes it was a really good reason, like we were in the middle of the rezoning process. And people were like 2 huge things was a lot for us at that point. I think it was around just coming out of COVID, so like that made sense. So, okay, let's put it aside, but we keep putting it aside. And I just think that we could prioritize a few things.
Michael, then Michelle.
So Andrea said it sort of in passing, but the charter is the constitution of the city of Kingston. And right now, we have a federal government that is largely ignoring the Constitution of the United States, that there's this sense of helplessness amongst the people that I talk to when I'm going door to door. And even it trickles down through the city level of, you know, oh, you can't do that because the mayor's got all this power to do the X, Y, and Z. And right now, we have the opportunity, not for us, not for rich people like wrote the federal constitution. We have our neighbors to be appointed to say, this is how I want my city to be run. And that is a hugely empowering thing that we can make. That they could make the city more flexible to address those exact issues that you're talking about, to say, you know, how can a city government put more food on people's tables? How can a city government build more housing through a charter revision process? And I keep pointing at Sarah because she's been sort of the cheerleader to me about this, when I was originally more of the skeptic of charter revision and the sortition process. But, you know, we heard, like, I don't want to compare him to the big man, but when the mayor has a city employee say to us, we don't need your approval to create a housing non-for-profit, that is the exact reason about why we need a charter revision, to make those lines clear, to make it responsible that, like, in my mind, we are a legislative branch, we are the policymakers and the appropriators. And it seems like that line is being increasingly crossed by successive administrations over the last 30 years since it's been last reviewed, but a growing imperial power right now.
Sure.
I just want to speak to, your concern about the push right now. So while it seems like it's a push right now, it's been like Freddie introduced what this is almost 2 years ago, right at the beginning of 24. So there has been work getting to this point.
Gina.
Okay, one more thing. How come we have the power to do this? How come we haven't even opened the charter up and us start making the rules ourselves? Because we have the power to change it
We
ourselves.
don't
We don't
know.
know. We
At
don't.
all?
Yep.
This is the only way.
So we have to hire somebody to change our own rules.
You have to have a commission that does it. Now, there are different ways of appointing a commission. The mayor could decide he wants to start one. Some citizens could decide they wanted to have a charter review and they could actually do a citizen process. But we chose the one that allows the common council to develop the process.
And I respect what you said about, you know, how our president is doing whatever he wants to do, you know, not even paying attention to it. But then I heard a different thing. This was just a tone. Don't take it personal. Is this against the mayor's power or is this against us lacking power? And number one, is this because you said, well, you know, they said, well, the mayor this, the mayor that. as far as I've seen, there's an open door to run for mayor at any time for anybody in the whole city. If they don't like what's done, I don't see them challenged too much, which is, I think everybody should have a challenge in life, But, I want to know the boundary lines here. Because if we're gonna change everything, and it hasn't been done in all these years, we wait till we have, Mr. President to push us to this limit, or are we doing this because it's really needed? The other thing is, we didn't do anything a year ago about this, and we talked about it.
We talked about it.
No, there was 3 or 4 of us when I was able to join, working out this to present it. So there was this has not been just all of a sudden throwing on your table. I mean, Sarah has
taken a long-
talked to.
Well, I all agree that it needs to be done. I don't think there's any of us that don't, but I want to know.
It was an item on came out of laws and rules. It was presented on an agenda in laws and rules back in early 24.
And why would we have to wait? And I'm just asking
Yeah,
questions. Nobody,
Yeah.
please. Why did we have to wait to push it to this last minute instead of vote on this, some laws and rules or whatever?
Because
Couple months ago?
there's a lot of state law about this, and one of them says that you have 2 years between 2 elections. So we couldn't start before the election that is tomorrow. And so we're limited that way. We've been working on it for a long, long time to be prepared. And that's why it might feel a little rushed, but it's just because we're trying to get this started at the very first day that we can. So we've got as much time as the state law allows us to have.
And when the state was, when you start, how long before you could go in the hat, 6 months? Or
2
months?
years. 2 years. But if there is a change that requires, any substantive change would require a vote by the citizens. And so you have to have it ready before that 2-year limit, if you're going to have it on the ballot. So you actually don't have 2 full years to get anything done. You really have about a year for the committee to work on it, because the other amount of time is getting the committee set up, getting people acclimated to each other, clarifying what the issues are, doing the work, which is going to require a fair amount of labor. Then if it's just review, they look at our government and they say, everything's fine. Okay, no problem, we're done. If they say, well, there's some boards, just for example, but just for example, suppose they say there's some boards where the common council should be able to appoint some of the members. That's the sort of thing that might require it to go before a vote of the city, of the residents of the city, like a public vote. And that would happen in November of 28. 27, sorry. November 27. Now, another thing is very sensitive to cost, clearly, but we're looking at about 0.13% of the total budget. That's what we're looking at here. So in terms of the full budget, we're not talking about very much at all. And the other thing is, it could be brought down even further if we are able to find grants. The crucial thing is, though, that if we vote for this, the door is open for us to go through it. Right. We may not be able to go through the door, because if we just can't find it in the budget, if we can't find extra money from organizations of whatever stripe, then that's going to be a decision of the council in the coming year to say, we just can't do it. There's not enough money. If we vote no now, though, there's no chance, there's no possibility. And who knows how long it'll be till we do this again. And let me just say, I think it was Michael who mentioned, our founding documents. This is even more important of a time for us to take a stand for democracy. We have to be able to trust the people in the city that they will be able to come together in a responsible way to think about how we govern ourselves. The value of this particular process, too, is that it allows us to reach beyond what we might call the usual suspects. We know there's a lot of people who dedicate huge amounts of time to the city. Emily Hauser, who we just voted to reappoint. She does great work. We've got other people who are on 2, 3, 4 different boards and committees. But we also know that there's really talented people in the city who have not made a step yet to becoming more involved. Largely because some of these boards and commissions, you have to make a 4, 5, 6 year commitment, right? The idea here is that you would have a briefer commitment. It would allow people to get some taste for what's involved. But just as importantly, it would show that we are committed to the values that we try to enact every day. Last thing I'll say here is NICOM, other organizations like that recommend do this review on a clear periodicity between 10 and 20 years. It's been way beyond 20 years since we've done it. We know that lots of things have changed in the last 25 to 30 years. So the idea is we want to have a review to make sure that if we're doing things right, that's fine. But if there's some things that we could change that would make our government more responsive to the citizens, more nimble to respond to bad situations, it might actually save us money in the long run. Because if we're able to have a greater kind of development of the budget, development of our priorities, those are the sorts of things that can really benefit us in the long run.
And one more question.
I think Michael.
No, you started.
Just one more question. And we're worried about the constituent. How many resolutions did we pass this past year for our constituents in the city? How do you say the word?
Memorializing.
Well, we're gonna be passing 186 tomorrow night, and I would imagine that.
For the city itself.
Okay.
Down to-
I mean, and that does include the memorializing resolutions, but some of them, if not all of them, impact the city of Kingston. But even if you want to take those out,
180.
yeah, 175, I think minimum. 175 resolutions we have done to help the city of Kingston residents.
Yeah, and I would say too, like before you were on the council, the vast majority of our memorializing resolutions were, I would say, more directly tailored to specific issues of concern to the city.
Yeah, I'm not, I just wanted to take them out because, you know, I want to see directly that impacts us,
Yeah.
you know, and, which they all do. But that really just hones in on us.
And then Michelle.
So I just want to address your point about citizens being concerned, you know, about other things, and this is at the bottom of their list of things. As I've been going around, you know, and canvassing throughout my ward, I have met people who are very excited about something like this. Really excited. I have 2 people who said, let me know when the application opens because I want to apply. And they're so excited because what this has the ability to do, and this is why we would think about doing it now, is as Michael was saying, we're in a time of sort of turmoil where citizens feel they don't really have any way to engage with government. This is a way for citizens to get to know what government does, how they can be involved. You know, maybe, you know, I think personally that there are ways that we could simplify this whole structure that we have, you know, our whole decision-making structure. You know, and because I've worked in other cities and, you know, also worked with other cities and seen how their processes. And I think, you know, I think there are citizens here who don't really understand how this government works and how the committees work. And if I have an issue, which committee do I bring it to? How, you know, government can be very confusing. And I think this is an opportunity for a group of people to say, wow, maybe we could make this simpler. Maybe more people would get involved with government. We have trouble finding candidates to run for office because it's a lot of work and there are a lot of meetings to go to. Maybe there's a way to streamline some things. And wouldn't it be great if at the end result of this, we had a more streamlined government that people felt like they really wanted to get involved? And so I've been actually really pleased with the response of citizens who said, yeah, that sounds like really, really interesting. I could see putting a year of my life into something that would have meaning for, you know, I could make an impact. I guess that's it. They could make an impact by participating for a year and a half, 2 years, and know that the effort they've put in has really been beneficial to our city. So that's why they're excited. So I just want to say that to your point, that the people are interested.
Yeah. I just want to speak on the points that everybody brought up. I don't see this as something about looking at any one person or any one department or any one thing. our city is going through growing pains, right? Like, it's expanding, people have different expectations of what city government does. I know in the 6 years that I've been here, like, the demands on me as an alderperson have increased as far as constituent services, what I'm able to access. And I think that when you have a charter that's as old as ours, I mean, there's even pieces in it that it doesn't speak to public engagement or who we are as a city and what we stand for. Those things drive then how government works. So I think that it's a really good idea to get fresh eyes to come in and look at the whole thing. I do believe we are having some growing pains in City Hall. And it would be good to figure out from some outside, an outside look at how things are functioning, how staffing should be, how staffing possibly could be for the council, so that we can also be learned up much more efficiently.
Andrew.
Yeah, and just kind of piggybacking off a little bit of what Sarah was saying and also what Drew was saying earlier, how with what's going on in federal government and how we're all feeling all day, every day with what's happening and the worries that we have, I think this can help in two ways. One of it is it's a positive experience. And so that, were those two people new to government, like, do they serve on any boards or anything? No, not at all. Like, getting more people involved. The other thing with doing this, it's gonna take a crazy amount of education, because at the end of the day, the end of this process, this is gonna go, any changes are gonna go to the people. So we're gonna have to, either us, the commission, most likely both sets of bodies will do a lot of work to educate the people, which is going to really educate people on civics. And I think that is something that is desperately needed, and that is something, that is going to be positive in light of everything that's happening federally too, so.
I just want to say to all your points, I agree. I'm not arguing.
Yeah.
That's what in the Constitution, I'm not arguing the point of how important this is. I do say this, I have 2 points. One, depending on who you're speaking to in our community, you'll begin to see where the matters of importance. Some people don't really know what a charter is. They're busy trying to pay their rent, busy trying to eat. They need childcare. It's a different thing. They're losing their health care indefinitely. So like these things are that's what I'm hearing. There's no space to ask, what do you think about a charter, and to educate somebody who doesn't, who doesn't feel the government feels supporting them. That's one. So two, if what we have, and if this had been for the years you've been here and you've been here, if we know that this is the Constitution and it's important to all of us as the people who run the city and the people that we serve in this city, why haven't we had a plan of action to begin to save or place funds to make this happen? This is what I have to do to revise at a nonprofit. Like, we haven't had, for our bylaws and things like that. We have to go back on a regular basis but we need money for that. So I can't, because we have phase 1, 2, 3, we're going through this whole thing, and they're like, look, it's $20,000 for this first phase, Drew. I'm like, we can't pay that. Well, when you can, give me a call. So we started saving 2 years ago, and we're halfway there. 2 years ago. So that is, I don't know, it's concern.
Because
Sure.
that's us, or the council from 2 years ago couldn't have said, we want to put this money aside for the council 2 years down the line, because you can't do that. It's just not the same thing, because I can't say I'm leaving tomorrow, or I'm not doing a good job explaining it. I'm not leaving tomorrow. Yeah, you can't, what's the word I'm looking for? You can't encumber, thank you, whoever y'all did. Another council. And because every 2 years, it is a new council. then you can't, that plan, just, that doesn't work.
I remember what you think on your statement.
Oh, thank you, you did it.
And I was planning, like right away. I was like, okay, let's start the planning. And now we're at the end of my term and we're just like pushing this forward.
Sarah has spent those 2 years preparing. You have no idea how much work that has been put in.
Research.
The meetings, the emails that have gone for, between the 4 of us or the 3 of them, between other city departments. It's been on laws and rules several times. So it hasn't just been sitting there and waiting for us to pounce. We've been, especially the last few months, it's been, us, because
The last 6 months,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Just, but getting input from other cities that have gone through a charter revision process. We've spoken to different groups. I've been reaching out and getting information. There's a group called the National Civic League that does charter reviews and revisions. And so I've spoken to them. We've had people from other cities. In fact, we invited some people from Beacon to come up and talk because they revised their charter a number of years ago to go from a commissioner form of government to one in which there were actually elected officials representing boards. They came up and they spoke to us. So we were just trying to, do our research first to make sure that this is something that we could do. How did you do it? Did you have consultants? How, just finding out all of that, and it took time. And I wish I could have worked on it much faster, but I had too many constituent calls that were keeping me busy.
Michael and Tara.
This was discussed in laws and rules for months. I know I was part of that delay because of my skepticism of the sortition process. And Bob, I think, and I were asking a lot of questions that required months of research on behalf of the 4 of you guys. But to the financial aspect, there is money in the fund balance, even after this budget is passed. There is still a bank account that this would even be a proportion of our whole budget. It's 0.13, but out of our fund balance, it's 0.45.
We draw from it.
Yeah, but it's like there is money there that could just be taken from the fund balance, which is what a fund balance is for. It's not just
We're not putting this on the people.
for fire trucks and police cars.
No.
Taxes. on-
So,
No, we're not going to increase tax.
No.
No. Yeah, we're not gonna, sorry, again, I'm speaking. We're not gonna increase the taxes.
I didn't hear what he said.
He said he didn't want to increase the taxes to, so adding this into the budget, which would increase the taxes, and then I had a cornea. No, we're not, the plan, as far as I know, and I think everybody, please yell at me if I'm, again, speaking for everyone, is not actually increasing the taxes. It would be something similar to either fund balance, grant money, or just waiting to see where we could, if we trim the fat, like Jeannie was saying, all of other things, but I don't think anybody here wants to add any more taxes.
There's no fact.
There is
back.
There's.
There's always back. There's always back.
Tara, then Sharon.
I'm really conflicted about this. I hear what everyone is saying. I think, the timing, especially given that a large part of this body will not be here next season. We're losing quite a number of people. And so we're basically voting for that new common council to take on this incredibly heavy lift in terms of overseeing the process. I hear what Drew was saying about, actual constituent concerns, and that's what I hear also. This is almost like speaking a completely different language, depending on what part of the city you are the alternate person for. So while it might be very nice that there are 2 people in your ward that have expressed an interest, people in my ward are too busy working 2 and 3 jobs. And so
I got somebody on Smith Street who wants to join.
on Smith Street.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Smith Street, then where?
No, it's like.
So in either case, So though that on top of, just the financial impact, which I'm led to believe, we have this opportunity to not go forward if we find that, the cost is, and that would be the reason that I would, vote in favor. But I do have to keep in mind that for a large swath of the city of Kingston, this is not the major concern. And in the next 3 years, it might not be. But I also get that this is civic, this is, about, civic responsibility and, fashioning local government in a particular way that reflects your values. But we have to be prepared for what will be some really hard times. And is this the best use of our time? That's what I'm sort of left with.
Jeannie.
I'm, hearing all of everybody's opinions, it's just, I do value, what's going on, I think, as Tara was saying, you're gonna have 3 new people on the council, 4 new people, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 new people on the council.
At least.
I would suggest, this is just a suggestion, and I know you'll have an answer for it. But I suggest that you bring it to the new council.
But we can't, based on the
Yeah,
timeline.
January 1st, yeah.
It would be- Yeah, I mean,
Could we informally invite them in?
We don't know who they're gonna be.
I know we did.
well, we know 4.
My words.
But also, I mean, because it's, things in government take a long time. This happens all the time with resolutions. Every resolution that you pass in your December committee meeting, another council's gonna have to come in here and vote. And yeah, a lot of those things are small, but you guys all remember your first one from the council's like, wait, what? Yeah.
That's right.
So, it's, first year, I mean, it takes a while, so it's, if we did that, then we would never get anything done at the end of the year, because there's gonna be a crossover, and that's every 2 years, and I know I keep doing that.
Yes.
Are you gonna speak directly to Tara?
yeah.
Go ahead.
So because we are going to be in a time of like crunch and financial woes, or I'm just getting tired. I feel like this is actually a good time to do it because there'll be less like work going on in the city hall and in the city. There are going to be funds to do a lot of the things that have been going on in the city and a lot of the big initiatives. So I think this is more kind of a quiet time that it would be a quiet time. Secondly, the fact, I think it's really frustrating to get your point about what the succession of people and coming in. That's a that actually should be looked at in the charter. I think that we should have, the council should have 4-year terms so they can see projects through. Because then you're never going to have the right time. Somebody's always gonna. So if we were to vote on this now, people coming in will then be able to pick up the ball and begin.
Yes.
So that is also.
And let's take your point and turn it the other way around. If we say no, we've taken a chance and opportunity away from the new council. If you say yes, they have that opportunity to take the ball and go with it if they want to. But by January of next year, no money will have been spent on this.
Right.
And so that new council can decide they don't want to go forward. But if we vote no, we've robbed them of their potential.
Well, that's good.
So I think I was part sort of the county's charter revision process, which part of their charter is to review it every 10 years. And I was only part of it because they happen to have the charter revision committee meetings right across from my office. And they had every department head of the county come and speak to the commission, and they would ask, what works well in your department, what doesn't, what is a practice that you believe should be enshrined in the charter? all of these questions were asked of every single department, every single board and commission. The legislators got to give their feedback. The executive got to give, at that point, her feedback. Yeah, it was Joanna. And they took all of that information and made a list of suggested changes that made the county operate in a more efficient way. So ultimately, it is saving money because you're talking about how is DPW structured in the charter that actually may or may not impede the operations of how they work. Just an example, but you could say that about the comptroller's office about everything. Should we, as a council, approve department heads? Should we approve appointments to the planning board? Should we approve appointments to any other board? All of those things are so critically important to making city government more efficient and ultimately cheaper that need to be discussed and haven't been discussed in 30 years. I'm sure there were folks 10 years ago saying, now's not the right time, now's not the right time, tomorrow. And I've just seen the process work at a higher level to see that it's actually extremely efficient, extremely effective. And, there were city residents who we all know, Frank Cardinale, Kathy Mean, who were on that committee and would be happy to talk to all of us about how that worked and their input in that process. It was really inspiring and I could see it working at this level where we're all a lot closer to each other really well.
And just to address your point about, the heavy lift for the council, I mean, the idea is once you set up the Charter Review Commission, they're doing the heavy lifting. The council is, the council is sort of checking in, but the work, all of the work is done by the people who are on that commission. So they're taking, they're the ones who are doing the interviews, so like just as Michael was saying, they're the ones doing the real heavy lifting. So it's happening parallel. It would be happening parallel to all the work that the council will be doing to deal with the other citywide issues that you're referencing.
And I'll make Sarah the liaison.
So we can only encumber with the work, not the funds. That's what I'm hearing.
We can start a project.
We're starting
Yeah.
process.
Process.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we might be able to tap into the fund balance. Is that what you're saying?
Grants.
Or-
and
Grants as
Our
well.
goal would be to have outside money as much as possible to fund it in whatever's responsible way, right?
So, so I say that, the time is now. Because even if we pass this law and we say, yes, we're going to move ahead with this process, there could be, circumstances like, money, something happens we can't foresee, and it doesn't go forward. But as Rennie was saying, without us passing this law, it can't go forward.
It's all about the money. It goes, so it's still there's still another gate, basically.
Right.
Well, I appreciate hearing a little bit about the county's process too, if that was involved at all, and if that's like a cost benefit that's gonna happen, obviously there's.
And I believe all their meetings are recorded and their minutes and are all on the county website. You could look at them and see, but it's really is a deliberative process of citizens, taking the advice of department heads, other citizens, elected officials, other municipalities into consideration. They could decide that the office of the mayor doesn't have enough power. They could decide that they want an entirely different form of government. That's all up to what these folks choose.
And they don't have the final say though,
No.
because it has to,
Yes.
whatever they recommend has to go through the common council at the time. And if there's a substantive change to the charter, it has to go before a vote of the citizens at large.
Yes.
Just lastly, I just want to say like the local law that would be voting on again this evening went through laws and rules, right? Got voted out over the summer, right? And it had to sit for 2 months, and then it got voted on in November, but even back in
October.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
the first reading in
Right.
September.
So like,
Just passed out of laws and rules August.
yeah, so and then it was draft that we were working on in committee late spring, summer. So it's not like all of a sudden this just appeared. I just want to make that clear that
You're right.
time moves quickly, but it's been here, so.
Time moves quickly, but government moves slowly.
Okay,
So,
so we can adjourn.
So we're gonna adjourn council and then go into the common council meeting if you guys are all ready to vote.
I mean, adjourn the caucus.
Adjourn.
Yeah.
Great. Do we have a motion to adjourn caucus? Michael, second by Terrell, all in favor?
Aye.
I will call this meeting of the common